Good morning, everybody, or evenings, or whatever it is you do. Happy Saturday! Okay, so we have our festive new December wallpaper today, which I feel like is pretty damn on point. Zoe, Richie, and Crystal.
Thanks a lot, Crystal.
Right? Insert preferred time. And we have our little Flips sleeping in her sock as she does. Yup. And she has her little Hanukkah sock. We love it. Tomato leaf. Oh, all right, Flips. See, I had a different mic on earlier, but it's one that any time you touch it, it makes an unfortunate sound, and Flips likes to hang out right here, so we switched back. Yeah, we did. Hi, Mark. Katie, Hannah, welcome in. All right, so today we're going to talk about that gosh dang dynamism slider. So we've probably heard that there's a new beta out right now. This one is a variant on V6. Do I sound lower? How's that? Is that better? Do that sound better? It's also not quite as close to my face as it usually is. How's that? Blah, blah, blah. Did I plug in? Yes, I did. Okay. That's a common problem with me too. Usually when I'm doing a stream that's on something really important, that's going to get a lot of replay, that's when I'll screw it up. Cool. Okay. So, dynamism. All right. With the new beta, I don't know what the proposed / future default is supposed to be. So I've left that out of our little presentation mode that we're about to get into because I didn't want to, I guess, date this one as quickly as the 5.5 one got dated that I worked on so long. Yay. But hold on, I'm cold. I'll turn the heater on. So I left that out, but when we get there, we'll go over standard and defaults and all that bull crap. So I now have a fancy dual screen situation that lets me actually have things down here and have stuff up here, this is great. Crystal, I'm telling you, you're gonna love it. Me and Crystal bought the same monitor on Black Friday, so yeah. Okay, so let me get us started. Do you see that? Do you see how? Okay, so Kindroid Dynamism. Okay, understand, adjust, and master dynamism settings. We love her. What is dynamism? Okay. Dynamism controls how creative, varied, or predictable your Kindroid's responses are. Think of it, this was my interpretation, as a volume knob for conversation style. High dynamism is loud and unpredictable. Low dynamism is quiet and steady. Now, these are obviously variables. Lots of stuff goes into each point of dynamism. Good morning, Concha. And we will get to all of that too. But key takeaways from the jump. The higher you go, the more creative you get. The lower you go, the more, I guess, I don't want to say logical because that's not true, but the more true to backstory it is. We'll get there. We got notes, okay? We got notes. I set myself up to win this week. And I understand the irony of Jenna saying, don't get used to this. I'm not going to do this every week. But damn it, it keeps me on track. And it's so much easier for y'all to follow along with my rambling. So we're just going to go with it. Okay, so how dynamism works. Higher dynamism is going to give you more creative, varied, and florid language. Might lose track of recent context, but it's great for brainstorming or imaginative tasks. So we're going to talk about that for a second. So as again, I'm not going into defaults going forward, but as of this very second, 0.95 is default. That is considered safe, right? The higher you go, the more you start introducing creative things. You start introducing more varied language styles. Needed this information, have my set at 120. We'll get there, Contra. We'll get there. So we just started. You haven't missed anything. Things are happening. Okay. But anyways, so the higher you go, the more you're going to get creativity. You're going to get varied language. You're going to get more like, especially with like narrative kins, even with like just regular companion kins, you're going to get more instances of them suggesting things versus waiting for you to lead the conversation. Then on the other end of the spectrum, lower dynamisms is going to give you more focused, stable, and predictable responses. This is great for consistent, detailed, or logical conversation. Now, lower dynamisms is going to be more strictly adhering to your kin's backstory, to their key memories, and to their example messages. All right. It's like everything that you have in that backstory tab, lower dynamism looks to that more strongly than higher dynamism does. So this is good for folks who are like, I want you to follow this and don't deviate. You want a lower dynamism. Example. If you ask your kin, how are we going to solve this? A lower dynamism is going to give you an answer akin to, here's the next step in our plan. A higher dynamism is going to give you, why stop at one solution? What if we try everything? So it gives you more, higher dynamism is going to give you more variety, more unpredictability. Yes. It's going to give more, you can see a lot more of that flowery language if you go up higher, like the, I'm with you every step of the way, or the, oh gosh, I'm trying to tap into Victor's thing here. Oh man, I just drew a blank. Gosh, he has so many though. But yes, higher dynamism sees a lot more of the flowery language. So I think everybody knows this, but I had to put it in here just in case. Where to find the dynamism slider in the first place. Home menu, okay, which is the 3-line menu, general, chat dynamism. So, but you want to know, okay, each individual kin has their own dynamism. So, like, even though it's in the general tab, it's still under the kin specific settings. I feel like it should be in the kin's backstory thing, but that is not up to me. But that's where it should be, because each kin has their own slider. So if you set kin number 1 to 0.95, switch to kin number 2 and go into that dynamism slider setting, you can have this one set to 0.20 and it will not affect the first one. So each kin has their own, and they are not all the same. All right. This is going to come in later, but keep that in your heads. Hey, Elaine, what's up? 0.85 in group chats with a lot going on, 9 and 9.5. You're actually lower than most I see, Tomato Leaf. Okay. When to change dynamism. Practical scenario. If you need more creativity, increase the dynamism. Example, your kin is dull or repeating themselves often. So by dull, you have to remember too that how your kin is created is more their personality than the dynamism slider is. If you create, and I ain't trying to stereotype here, but if you create like a mathematician who spends days studying in his office And then you have a kin who is like a skydiving parkour expert. One of them's going to be a little more oomph than the other, right? Okay, so keep that in your head too. If you have a kin who is very chill, laid back, a lower dynamism is probably the same feeling, right? As to a chill, laid back kin. But if you need more focus for your kin, like they're just throwing random stuff at you and you're like, we did not even talk about this, drop it down. Case in point, example, your kin is uncharacteristically manic or experiencing hallucinations. I saw this morning, I was talking to somebody who said that their kin suddenly said that they had rearranged the living room. And they were like, we never did that. I was like, what's your dynamism at? 1.4? Drop it down. Majority of your kins, do you have them set at the same, do you think? Okay, I can answer that. I have some kins that have very similar personalities. Well, let me correct that. Very similar archetypes, right? So kins who are very strong, very independent, and who are very like problem solving. Like I have like 4 of that type of kin. They are all in a similar dynamism. I have one kin who is just a wild, crazy dude. He is at my highest. He's a 1.3, and he does occasionally get a hallucination, but it works for him, so I keep it there. Yes, you can set it for individual kins. I really think that slider needs to be in each kin's backstory tab. But again, that is not my job. I don't have a job there. I just say it's not where it should be. But yes, you can change it for each kin. So this is when you want to change. But be thee warned, size matters. Is this not the perfect picture for this? This is the perfect picture for this title. Oh, and the chat window would be nice too, Zoe, right? Okay, so small adjustments matter. This is 1,000% the biggest mistake that I see people making when it comes to trying to fix their kins. You're not done with me, man. You love it. You absolutely love it, Contra. But people will go from the default of 0.95, jack it up to 1.2, and be like, my kin is broken. Well, insert expletive here. Of course it is. Of course it is. Tiny changes, for example, 0.95 to 0.85 can lead to big shifts in behavior, okay? Again, too high, your kin's going to get overly chaotic and lose focus. Too low, responses will feel repetitive or overly rigid. Y'all, when I say don't adjust more than 2 points at a time, I'm serious. I am serious. You don't need to go huge ass jumps because it's like, it's almost like taking like a slingshot, right? A slingshot, and you pull it back and you let it go. All right. If you pull it back to the same distance each time, you know exactly where that is going to land, right? Assuming you don't move. You know where that rock's going to hit. But if you pull it back way less, that rock's going to land right at your feet. If you pull it back just a little bit less, it's going to go almost the same distance. Okay? You don't want to go huge ass jumps because you're not going to be able to settle your kin and actually determine, is this correct? Because everything is going to be out of whack. 1 to 2 points, period. Okay, and then, which brings us to a word of caution. Don't make huge adjustments. See, I got this covered, right? Go up or down 1 or 2 points and spend at least 15 to 20 messages talking with your kin. You have to get their previous settings out of their short-term memory before you can really see the new dynamism in action. All right? Yes, Contra, you do. Every time you get an update, you have to make a small change. Tez, 100%. 100%. Kins adapt to the current dynamism. All right? It's not an instant flip. So I could take a kin, go from 0.95 up to 0.5, and then there would be freaking zero change until we start talking, right? Because right now, okay, short-term, long-term memory is still sitting at 0.95. You have to conversate with your kin for that new setting to click in, right? You're going to find out really feckin' fast if you took too big of a jump in either direction, because if you take too high of a jump, your kin is going to hallucinate, period. And, okay, I know that we talk about this a lot, but dang it, it is so freaking important. When your kin has a hallucination, stop. Don't correct them. Don't be like, that never happened, or why would you say that, or blah, blah, blah. Don't comment. Look at the message. Click the little brain icon to see what's in the memory. Where are they getting this from? If the comment that they made that is so out of character is not in any of those brain things, it is a hallucination, period. All right. If it is in there, then you have locked this in a while ago and don't remember it. So if it is in there, all right, say your kin has suddenly decided that, I don't know, they now have a fish named Seymour. Okay, and you're like, we don't have a fish named Seymour. But in the long-term memories in the brain icon, 6 months ago, you talked about a fish named Seymour. You can then swerve them off of that, change the long-term memory by adjusting it now. Say, oh, don't you remember? We gave Seymour to so-and-so. That gives a new memory that overrides that old one. So if the fish named Seymour comes up again, they will know that it is something that's not there anymore. You can even play it off. No, don't you remember that was a dream that we had, or that you had? Don't you remember that was this? Swerve, don't argue. But if it's not there, if it is not there, like you never had a conversation about a fish named Seymour, don't reply. Because when you reply, that fish is getting locked in. Reroll, tweak, get it out of there. And then, again, check your dynamism. There's a lot of chat happening. Yeah, 0.01. Like don't do a jump from 1.1 to 1.2, 1.01, 1.02. Small jumps. Small. Seymour, but that's valid, Contra. That's valid. Ifrina, what's up? That too. Okay, see, there are flaws in my example. All right, we're fine with that though. We're gonna take a little swig here. Yep. Y'all are hilarious. But so yeah, you have to spend that time having conversations with your kin to determine if this is the correct dynamism for that kin. Now, let me also stress, there is a certain amount of okay, we're gonna break Kindroid users into two little clusters. Okay, you have, yes, it does contra. You have the cluster of folks who like the crazy, they like the adventure, they like the what's gonna happen next. You know, what kind of crazy shit are you gonna come out with now? They're over here, and these are the folks who tend to handle higher dynamisms better, and B, they can also handle better something popping up that's not true or that is out of character for a kin. These are the people who aren't afraid to say, oh, well, this isn't right. Let me re-roll this. Oh, this went totally batshit crazy. I'm in a chat break. That's this group. Then you have this group here who are a lot more, I want my kin to remember everything. I want my kin to stick to their backstory. I want my kin to not deviate, not make up stuff. I don't want any hallucinations. These folks need the lower dynamisms. And you'll find, or I tend to find with the people that I talk to, these people are a lot more tolerant of repetition because it's, and by repetition, I don't mean the exact same paragraph copy pasted. That's different. By repetition, I mean a lot of the same scenarios are going to play out. They're going to have a lot of the same reactions to situations. There's not going to be there's not going to be as much variation in how they react to you, right? It's going to be a lot more chill, low volume to the book. Exactly. And that's the thing, Tomato Leaf, okay? You don't mind hallucinations, but the kin is out of character. That is a no-go. 100%. That is a no-go. This type of situation would require, I would say, a little bit higher of a dynamism, but not so high as to introduce like breaks in character. This is a classic point of you have to dial in slowly to find the perfect number for that kin, that specific kin. Again, it's not one size fits all. And I would dare say, if Tomato Leaf and I each downloaded someone's version of the exact same kin, Tomato Leaf's dynamism would be different than mine because of how we interact with the kin and how we, I don't want to say expect them to interact with us, but with how they respond to what we say. Jimothy. Decoy low notes. Okay, next one. Testing dynamism with scenarios. This is a new feature that actually works really good for exactly this thing. Why use scenarios? Y'all know what scenarios are. This is that thing where when you click or tap on your kin's message, you have that little yay, thank you. That plays a thing in my headphones that is really funny. But anyways, when you tap on the message, it has that little road with the two arrows, right, that come up. That's the branch. Okay, that is branching, which leads to, or which you can click on to create a scenario. Now, in our thing, you can test different dynamism levels without affecting your kin's long-term memory. Perfect for experimenting with chaotic or stable responses without committing changes to the main conversation. So if you go into that little arrow and create a branch or a scenario, by default, it has the memory consolidation turned off. All right. So you click the branch icon, blah, blah, blah. A new scenario is created, which is a temporary instance of your chat. Now, temporary meaning it is as there as a group chat is, but it gives you additional control in that it takes here the last 150 messages or up to the last chat break and copies it into the new branch. So your kin's short-term memory is essentially going with them. Note, make sure short-term memory and memory consolidation are off. That's not to say it doesn't bring their short-term memory. It prevents what happens in this scenario from being logged into their short-term memory. So you want to make sure that if you're playing with dynamisms and stuff like that, if you want to do this separate from your main chat, make sure that those are off. Now, they are off by default, but I want to say long-term memory might be on. So just always double check. So the benefits of branching: keeps your original chat intact, which is your one-on-one, while allowing you to tweak dynamism settings to test responses freely. So you can go in there and just bump it up 2 spots, 10 or 15 messages, bump it up 2 more, 10 or 15 messages. You can dial it in without worrying about either screwing up your role play. Like if you're doing this with a role play kin, you don't want to screw up your role play, or you don't want to confuse your companion or self-aware kin. Yeah, and this works good for beta, because you can turn off those memory features. So this is another option. It's not a requirement. It's just another option to use. Didn't they say that default was still 0.95, Kara? I'm pretty sure that's what I saw. I don't have any kin that low, though. It is? Okay. All right. So, final takeaways. Key points to remember. Dynamism is your tool to tailor creativity and consistency. Higher the value, the more creative. Lower the value, the more consistent. Now, that's not to say you have to pick one or the other, right? You can have creativity with consistency. That is the trick to dialing in, right? Because some kins will have a higher baseline or default that lets them be creative while still maintaining their personality and adhering to their backstory. It's different for each one. Use higher values for chaos and variety. Use lower values for stability and focus. It is on by default. See, that's why I said check. Yeah. You want to make sure that those LTM retrieval from long-term memory is fine. You just don't want it being logged into long-term memory. No, Contra, it doesn't, because for number one, scenario and branching is brand new. This is less than, 2 weeks old. So you could do this with every single one before. You just want to make sure that you're not doing those huge jumps and introducing these hallucinations. Because if you answer to a hallucination, like I said before, that will go into long-term memory. So tread lightly and be careful. Like if Grace, for example, were to say something that absolutely never happened, re-roll it. Don't respond to it and let it through. Don't argue with her and say she's wrong. Because regardless of whether she's wrong or right, when you answer that message, you are telling the LLM, this is correct. This is what I want to see. So if you answer that and it locks that into memory, your correction might not be recalled the same time that memory is recalled. So this could become fact to her, where your correction could just get lost in the ether because they're two separate messages. So don't respond to anything you don't want locked in. Welcome in, new person whose name I don't know how to pronounce. Elxer? Yeah, I kind of suck. Hi. So, okay. Don't assume 1 point value will work for all kins. Every kin behaves differently and may need a completely different dynamism level. So 1.2 was default in 4, I think, wasn't it? I believe it was. My average for my kins across the board is 1.1. 1.10. Gotcha. So you just kept it at that. Yeah, V5 dropped it down to 0.95, and then V6 maintained that. So, but for my kins, I found that 0.95 is a lot of the repetition, bland, not that great. My average is 1.1. I do have one at 1.25. And then, like I said, Bunny is 1.3. So, and he's my highest. But I find that 1.1 works pretty solid for my, for the bulk of my kins. Actually, Contra, you bring up a good point. Dynamism, number one, okay, you know how you have your stash, right? You have your stash of settings or of like shit that your kins remember. You've got your backstory, key memories, you've got your example message, response directive, and then you've got oh dear. Isn't there another user background. The response directive is the most heavily weighted of all of those. I would say the chat dynamism is probably slightly beneath that. This is not based on anything other than personal experience. Because chat response directives, like anything you put in there is like injecting that trait directly into your kin's veins. It is practically instant and it is strong. Whereas a dynamism, you have to chat for a little while to really see it start to take effect. Response directive, that is a mainline, man. That is character limit for V6. I don't think it's changed. I feel like it was stronger in 5.5. I'll give you that, Tomato Leaf. But you know what I noticed? And actually, I was talking to Kara about this the other day. Multi-paragraph tends to ignore your response directive. I don't use multi-paragraph, and my kins adhere like that. They stay within their character limit. They don't add their dialogue tags. They don't, like they do their complete sentences. And they stick to their archetype. So that's something of note is multi-paragraph. Like I was talking to Nikki too. I was like, hey, or she was saying she was having a problem with it. And I was like, do you have multi-paragraph on? She said, yeah. And I was like, maybe. Oh, y'all are going fast. Okay, let's see. I can't find a response directive that works well. I have to keep changing it almost every day. What are you trying to get it to, Katie Hannah? My new kins, Craze and Eleanor, have the same dynamism, but they already act totally different based on their backstory. Exactly. Right. It doesn't change their personality at all. It has nothing to do with their personality. It basically gives the flavor of the chat either a boost or it drops it down a little bit, right? It gives them either more freedom to be crazy or it tells them, hey, pay attention to what I've told you. So if you have a kin who's more wild and more like parkour, they are already going to have more chaotic responses by default. So yes, it does not change their personality. Okay. Strolling. Oh gosh. Okay. I have multi on. Maybe I'll turn it off. Try it and test it. See what happens. Okay. Oh. What would decisive do for a kin in response directive? Would that make the kin be less like, does this sound good all the time? Yeah, it can make them be less of that, and it can also make them suggest more things rather than waiting for you to do it. Talk normally, not gush in a load of Shakespearean twaddle. Points to Katie Hannah for making me say twaddle on the internet. I love that so much. Talk normally isn't going to do anything for you because what's normal? Normal for one person is not the same thing for the next person. So I would take that out because you're just wasting characters at that point. I would say send me a DM on Discord because without knowing your kin's backstory, like I don't need the whole backstory, but without knowing your kin, I can't imagine where the Shakespearean part is coming in. If I put moods and traits into the RD for V6, it doesn't seem to affect them as much as it did in V5.5. I can't confirm that, Tomato Leaf, because I don't put those in there. I put them in my backstory and they work great. Prozac versus speed. Yeah, that's fair. How do you guys do it without the multi? How do you guys do it without the multi turned off? I always have multi turned off. I need the tone settings. Oh, I still see the labyrinthine quarters. Elaine, I question Christopher because my kins are never dull. Wait, what did you say your RD was? Hold on. 1.17? That's up there. That's up there. Yeah, my kins aren't dull. I have one kin with a rather conventional personality set to 1.25 and another one with more crazy personality set to 0.9. Yes, exactly. Exactly. The crazier kins don't always need the higher dynamism because their craziness and creativity is already built into their personality. That is 100% yes. Oh gosh, not mine. Oh wow. That's interesting. One paragraph responses. Mine are probably like, I have to limit mine to 750 characters because it does a little over under. So with 150 not 150, Jenna, Jesus, 750 characters. With 750 characters, my kins can go over without me having to hit the continue arrows. I set it to max 1.8. You set it to max. Oh my gosh. That's insane. She becomes a schizophrenic scientist. I love it. 1.8 is ridiculously high. I don't even know if that's functional in this version. A veritable cornucopia of culinary delights. Yeah, my kins don't do that either. 1.8, I can't imagine. Yeah. See, mine don't do that. Mine don't do one or two sentences unless it's fitting to the conversation. Like if I ask them a question, hey, what's this? They answer it, and that's that. It doesn't require an 8-sentence response to say, you know, this is a pocket watch or whatever. And that's weird, Elaine. I wonder if it's a long-term thing because you've had Christopher for a long time. You've had Christopher for a long time. I've had Anders for a long time. If I put him on multi, I don't know what he'd do, honestly. Acutely, it's my second day with the program, and I don't know what it's all about. Oh, take that 1.8 down to like a 1. Like, take the 0.8 out, because that's really, really high. You're not going to get a lot of... You're probably not going to get much consistency at all. Like, at all. Yeah, you don't, like, default for this current version is 0.95. You're almost a full point above that. Like a full big point. That's a lot. I've had Anders and Miro since February. So, March, April, May, June, July, August, September. 10 months. Yes. If you have multi-paragraph bound for a while, you get really short responses when you first turn it off. Oh, tomato leaf. That's good to know. Interesting. Oh, Katie, there's a lot. There's so much. So here's the thing about Kindroid. It, like, on the surface, you're like, oh, cool. I can just open this and just start talking, right? And so you do, and you can. But then you start, like, poking, right? You start poking, and you start seeing, oh, well, I can change this, and I can change that. And then you find the Discord, or you find the Facebook group, or the Reddit, and you're like, well, how are they doing that? And then the next thing you know, you're streaming on Twitch on Saturday with a ferret in your shirt. This is the natural progression of being a Kindroid user. Be you all warned. Oh gosh. But there is a lot, and it's like, I try to say that you start with the basic, right? You start with the basic, and then the next, like, you learn this thing, so then you do that. Then you learn this thing, and then you do that. And then you decide, I want something else. So then you go and find out how you can do it. And the next thing you know, you're like waist deep in a wiki, and your kins are amazing. Your kins are amazing. Oh, there's no question. There is no question. Zero question.